Welcome to Center Stage, the documentary podcast. Each week, our group of intrepid researchers and music archivists dig through the record crates of the world, looking for that one artist to take center stage. Using a patent-pending algorithm and spirited debate, we pick one artist. Once that is settled, we invite that artist into Thunderlove Studio to chat with your hosts Keith R. Higgins and Jeff Calhoun. When we're lucky, they say yes. Our mission with Center Stage is simple: to make sure the recorded work of artists remains, or in some cases lands on, the cultural radar. We invite you to sit back and relax. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Jeffrey.
Welcome to the Center Stage podcast.
That's right.
Apologies in advance.
No apology needed.
Oh, you know, Keith, sometimes we try to do a good job as podcasters. Maybe slip into journalistic integrity. But sometimes I cannot hide my fandom.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like I should mail you a bib.
This is one of those episodes. This is one of my very favoriteest bands in the universe. My sincere hope, dear listener, is that you consider this a love letter to the musicians and the music for the band the Joy Formidable. I have a difficult time articulating the extent to which this band is meaningful to me. So what I think is probably going to be one of the longest episodes ever on the podcast, we go deep. We ask questions that hopefully other interviewers are not asking.
Well, we have a habit of doing that.
We have a reputation for doing that, but I will say Ritzy and Rhydian are two of the most God-given, naturally charismatic people I've ever been around. They're just... I've seen them in concert and honestly thought, as they talk to the crowd in between songs, I would stand here and just watch them interact with the crowd for an hour. I mean, I'm here for the music, but they're very engaging, very charismatic. It's a band that just means a ton to me. There's stuff that we didn't get to. I could have gone on and on about their tours with the Foo Fighters and many great things they have done. So my apologies that I bogart this one. It is probably one of my top 5 all-time favorite bands. I think it's a really enjoyable conversation. I really do. And if you don't know this band, I think this is a fantastic introduction to them. I think this is a great way to open your mind up, try something new on for size. They are, sometimes you talk about musician. I think these folks are a band's band. Most of the musicians that I know that play in rock and roll bands, give a nod to the Joy Formidable. They acknowledge them as legit. So we put a lot of time and energy into this one. I hope that you feel that. I hope that the connection is real for you as a listener. I hope that you enjoy it. And without further ado, because I could ramble on and on and on, let's get directly to our conversation with Ritzy and Rhydian from the band The Joy Formidable. Well, I was just telling Rhydian that I have met the both of you in Birmingham, Alabama, and in Cleveland, Ohio, and in Columbus, Ohio. So you are not unfamiliar to me. Now, I'm probably one of the thousands and thousands of fans that you've met along your journey, but I know your band.
I recognize your face. Yeah, I'm on my phone here, so my screen's quite small, but yes.
Well, lucky for you, I have a big head.
Yes, he does.
I'm awful with faces. I don't even know who this guy is to my right.
Hello. I'm in the band with you.
You have been so generous with your fan base in terms of the extra stuff that you make available to them, live concerts and intimate acoustic performances. There was a fan of yours on your subreddit, and I hate to invoke Reddit, but I will. There was a fan that said, "Is there anything I don't know?" And so my hope today is that we can get to something that a big fan didn't know before. One of the things about your band, in 2009, I got a phone call from a friend who said, "You're not going to believe this shit." And they played a balloon called Moaning for me. And I didn't believe it. Where did this band come from? These people, this band is fucking amazing. It was a real holy shit moment. So what I want to lean into as our starting point is I want to talk about Tricky Nixon and I want to talk about Sidecar Kisses, because to a casual fan, these sound like bands that the two of you were just kind of casually farting around in before it got serious and you started the Joy Formidable. But these were serious bands. I mean, Tricky Nixon had a proper recording and an EP and a couple songs that were widely celebrated locally. Lucky for us, it's very hard to find those songs, but lucky for us, there's some crazy fan, or maybe he's not a fan, on YouTube named Rhydian79, who only uploaded one video ever, and it's a sidecar. It's a Sidecar Kisses song. It is the two of you as Sidecar Kisses performing 9669.
Just the one you'll find.
Cut from the waist, you cut from the weak side.
It goes to waste, it goes to waste.
You made the call, so make the call shorter.
You break the spell or make the fall harder.
So Tricky Nixon started in 2003. Do I have that right?
Oh, blimey, you're asking now. That
I
does
kind
sound
of-
about right, yeah.
Kind of blotted that chapter out. Like,
Yeah.
was I in that band?
Interesting.
There is video evidence that you were with me.
It's not me. It's deep
Yeah.
fake, that one.
Yeah.
But 2003 through, let's call it 2008, you were performing together. That's 5 years of writing and performing and getting to know one another. It's not like the Joy Formidable just arrived fully formed. There was a lot of history where the two of you had been working at developing your sound prior to that.
Yeah, well, what initially came about was a band I created, and I'd known Ritzy from school anyway, years and years in primary school and high school. But we never really did anything musically, oddly enough, in school. He was a year below me. But yeah, I was in Manchester. I knew Ritzy had been to Manchester University, but she was living over in the States. And I remember seeing a friend who was also doing some stuff with music, and I was looking for a guitarist for the band. So that's how we kind of reconnected. Ritzy was like, "Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, cool." Because she was kind of coming back over to the UK for a bit. So I suppose that kind of it was, I suppose, mainly my project, and Ritzy was playing, songs and parts initially that I'd created. But it kind of developed from there, and I think over time, especially we had some interesting experiences with that band as well. It got a bit messy, and we kind of had to disappear back to North Wales. But I think during that period as well, we were, I think, feeling some frustration, and we came to share more with each other, and our songs, and collaborate a bit more. So like when it came to the Joy Formidable, it was a proper, right, okay, let's so 50-50 type of thing. So those previous bands, it was a bit of a dabble, do you know what I mean? It wasn't like a proper collaboration in terms of the songwriting. I'd say that's fair, right, Ritz?
Yeah, I think that's probably why, because I wasn't being rude about Tricky Nixon per se. I could be about parts of it, but no, it kind of it felt like I came in as as a different type of musician. Parts were already written, so it was just the interpretation of something rather than the creating part of it. And I'd been in the States just songwriting like crazy because I wasn't in a great place. So I think I was quite frustrated. It kind of felt like I could kind of tell that it wasn't the right band for me to get more involved from a songwriting perspective. And then it kind of disintegrated, like you said, didn't it, Rids? Just kind of like there was various factors that it kind of broke down. So, and what came out of it was, I guess we realised that we really enjoyed vibing off each other, and that we probably both wanted something musically a bit different like a different type of collaboration out the process. That's kind of how I remember it. Apart from it being, like you said, it was kind of horrible at the end, and we kind of ended up having to hide in the hills of Wales while we sorted some shit out. So yeah, I wish I could talk about it because it's fucking funny now, like 15 years on. Like, it'd be great to be able to talk about how your drummer had like fucking tried to like ram me off the road. You know what I mean?
I think you just did.
And he had to get a fucking injunction because he was trying to like fucking smash your Nissan Micra into pieces. But, it was, a pretty clear ending really to that project.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
A Balloon Called Moaning was, to my point of view, almost universally celebrated. Everybody that heard it was blown away. And I think a couple things stand out to me. In 2008, it came out in Japan, and then it took some time for you to get it out in the UK, and then some more time to get it released in the US. So it almost had this sort of ricochet effect. You were both in your early 20s, but the lyrics and the songwriting and the maturity of both were well beyond. I mean, Ritzy, I kept waiting for you to like drop the veil and reveal like, I'm secretly a witch that's 100 years old with just a lifetime of experience.
I am.
I knew it. It was very, very mature and wise beyond its years, I think. Take us back to A Balloon Called Moaning and how it really accelerated the band's, because Japan, UK, US, I mean, it went worldwide pretty quickly.
You see, that's not how I remember it either in some ways, because the reason it kind of got released in Japan first is because literally nobody wanted to fucking release it. You know, it was like we were down in, would we have been down in London? We would have been, wouldn't we? We were kind of looking around in London around that time. And invariably, when you start going to major cities, you start, unfortunately, rubbing shoulders with people who fucking release records. All the toads come out, you know, to come and see you. And yeah, they didn't get it at all. It's like we were like this North Walian Welsh band that sounded a bit scouse. Like we sounded like we were from Liverpool, but we were saying that we were Welsh and we obviously spoke Welsh. That was confusing because we weren't super furry animals or Catatonia. And I was blonde and aggressive looking, but you know, I wasn't too I wasn't Courtney Love enough, you know. There wasn't enough kind of like Riot Girl running through it. We were a three-piece. Everybody kind of wanted us to get another guitarist. So it kind of was quite lost on what was in vogue at the time in London, which is great because I suppose that is the validation that in some ways that you're doing something kind of a bit more unique and authentic to yourself. So, and it wasn't until we ended up, I don't even know how we met Fumi from Rally in Japan. I don't know if he just heard a single or something like that. It was probably very simple. And he wanted to release it and he wanted us to come out to Japan to tour it. And it wasn't until, isn't that always the same? Because they're all big bar sheep, aren't they? It's like when somebody else releases it, they're all like, oh, fucking hell. Better get on that. Like, you know, we've just ignored it for fucking 12 months while, you know, like, you know, while we've been kind of gigging non-stop. But yeah, so it wasn't until really it came out in Japan and then like you said, then it started to waterfall a little bit more. But
yeah, and same with I think what it taught us is resilience, which we had anyway, but it certainly made that super clear because, like Ritzy said, like there was loads of people, labels and so forth, and passing and you know, I think it going over to Japan and people like Fumi, you know, independent labels and so forth, and taking a punt on you, yeah, made you realize there's all kinds of different ways of getting the stuff out there. Obviously, we're in a completely different time now as well. But that was really encouraging. And same with, I think after we put a Balloon Called Moaning out too, the guys from Passion Pit, I think, had come across the record. And like, do you want to come over and do some shows in the States? And when we did that, you know, a load of labels came down and stuff forth. And it just, I think it's really important to just, you know, not think there's one way, all kinds of ways of getting it out there.
I just remembered what that's called, Riddy. It's called a clusterfuck.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, it is.
What?
We had an American clusterfuck that was
very bizarre, very bizarre. You know, our manager Joel at the time, who was a friend as well, you know, we'd have creative ideas on how to get the stuff out there, so he played a big part as well. Like kind of quite formative, you know, the experience. I'm kind of glad we went through it, even though it was a pain in the ass at the time. And like Ritzy was saying, you're having meetings with some of these labels, you know, it kind of doesn't make sense. Can you not, like, you know, like you were saying, be a bit more like Courtney Love or whatever, you know, and just I want to do my fucking own thing. Thank you very much, you know. Yeah.
And that's the point where you realize that you have to have, you know, because you are young at that point as well in your career, you know, and like young, not just in terms of years, you're young in terms of your experience and your wisdom and how to deal, like I said, with, you know, all of those that start creeping out the hollows, you know, and lot, like I said, it's like any industry, there's good and bad, but definitely a lot of pressure to change. So I'd be very interesting to hear what other bands and what their experiences were like, you know, whether or not, you know, was there any band that kind of came out doing their thing and everybody just went, fucking perfect, keep it exactly how it is, great. You know,
not that we've met.
You know, like generally it's like, start singing different, like, hey, should we do this? Dress like that, fucking get your tits out, you know, like, yeah. Versions of that.
And also the other thing, I suppose, is that it was a bit of a like loads of shows and building the craft like that as well. Because you do hear of like lots of artists now getting signed after only playing like one show and stuff, you know. And I think that's a bit of a shame that you're not kind of like developing this kind of stagecraft and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was so fast forward a little bit, you did get signed by a major. Atlantic signed you, put the effort behind you to get the Big Roar out as sort of your first major label release. Mm-hmm. There were some songs that were on A Balloon Called Moaning that got spiffed out and sort of upgraded for that first big release. And the big spiff out to me is the massive ending of Whirring. And I'm going to quote somebody here, because sometimes other people say it better than I could ever. They could be the heaviest rock band you would never think of classifying as metal, or the most pop-friendly act to drop an occasional blast beat.
Yeah, I think with the Big Roar, you know, because for Balloon Called Moaning, we didn't have Matt then, did we? Or maybe it was towards the end. And through doing so many... What's that?
Yeah, it was kind of a crossover, but we were still playing the end. Whirring Live was a bit more like the version that ended up on the Big Roar, but then the version that we cut for Balloon was kind of less juicy.
Yeah, well, from doing, you know, from Matt joining and, like I said, doing so many shows, I think we wanted to capture like that live element. Like you say, some of those songs were in one guise on A Balloon Called Moaning.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing became its own beast, I suppose. And yeah, so we wanted to capture on that record.
Mm-hmm.
Ritzy, question for both of you, because I am a pedal board nerd. I love all my little stomp boxes and all the weird noises that they can make. You all in your music have always pushed sonic boundaries in terms of what can a guitar sound like. Mm-hmm. And jumping from the Big Roar to the next album in 2013 with Wolf's Law, I remember my first impression of that record was, there's no fucking way they're going to pull this off live. And then I saw you on tour, and there is a fucking way you could pull it off live. I was so blown away by how you take, and some of it were through lines. I think, songs like Mama Song and Little Blimp, those could have been on Big Roar, but wow, Leopard in the Lung is a song that I didn't see any way that you could do it with a 3-piece. And then you opened with it when I saw you on that tour. I was like, holy shit.
No.
So tell me about taking some of those big, massive orchestral moments and keeping it tidy in a 3-piece without having, the Starship Enterprise of pedal boards in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Do you want to?
yeah, for one thing, we don't always still feel the pressure to do things exactly like a record. We do this as a different discipline, and it's actually fun to realize it in a maybe slightly different way sometimes for live, But yeah, like you say, it's a good starting point to do that, to see what the studio version is like and how you do that. And it's a fun thing, especially when you've got all kinds of pedals and so forth to, even if you haven't got like string players on stage, because, it costs a lot to do that on tour and so forth, then, there's certain things you can certainly do with the guitars to kind of mimic that. And so even if it's not exactly the same, we enjoy sort of tinkering like that. And I'm Ritzy, I may have been through different setups along the way, and there's some ambiances and so forth, and loops and stuff that we're playing as well. But we try to keep that to a minimum, and it's like what we're doing is, takes center stage, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Probably don't always make it very fucking easy for ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Because we go and because I think both of us, right, Riddy? I don't want to speak for you, but it's the feel that I get is like we go and we make a record like the Big Roar, and we're in with Costy, and it's all kind of quite raw and live, and playing together. He's kind of capturing that element, and then we come out of that, and I'm like, I want to fucking do something. I've been listening to like non-stop old like 1920s and 1930s Disney soundtracks. I'm like, I want to basically do like a fucking guitar version of Snow White, and and let's get an orchestra and let's like piss about. And it's normally just like it's probably like a reaction to the album that you've done before, then we come out of that and all of a sudden we want to go back, and Hitch is an extremely live album. And then we do that, and then we're like, there's like a patchwork again, we're back into like wanting to the production being. So I think it's like, I think we've always been very, we've always ran with exactly what has been that intuition or that pull to whatever we wanted to do creatively. It's been, but it doesn't always make things very easy, because then you just work. That was a very collaborative album. Wolf's Law. We've obviously had a lot of studio time with other players and that. And all of that is, again, it's like a weaving. It takes time and to come together and get rehearsed, and then come out of that, and it's like, fucking hell, now we've got to like deconstruct it again for a 3-piece. And Matt's like playing 2 drum kits on parts of that, and like now it's got to be like 1 drum part, so but
yeah, that was always an interesting one to fuck with Matt. With actually, it'd be something that's like an octopus on drums trying to do all that stuff. He enjoyed it as well, as a cool challenge.
Yeah, totally.
I'm going to preface this question by saying, if you don't want to talk about it, that's perfectly okay. And I also want to preface the question by saying, having observed the 2 of you perform together and listening to the writing output, the creative output of the joint forces, I feel like the 2 of you are musically soul bonded in a really special way. And one of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot is that there was a romantic relationship between the 2 of you that ended around the time Hitch came out. And I think that you hear a lot of that in Hitch. Mm-hmm. Could you talk about how that impacted the band before and after Hitch?
Oh yeah, I mean, great question. We haven't talked much about that. I think it's the all these chapters. I'm grateful for, and it shows the special bond that we do have. That we went through that, and it's never been an issue. Mm-hmm. The music and the connection there has remained the same all the way throughout. I still feel it now. We get really excited about what's coming next with our writing. So it was bound to
really broke up the whole band, didn't it?
What's that?
I said, let's face it, didn't Hitch like nearly fucking destruct the whole band, blow up the whole band? I mean,
what do you mean?
Well, do you remember? Well, more from after we'd done it and we released it. Do you remember when the label was like sending fucking empty copies of the vinyl to people and shit like that?
Oh wow! Fucking hell!
Like
we almost got sued.
And we got sued. Yeah, exactly. Well, we did get sued, just not for the same amount.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. Anyway.
But it's bound to get documented because, like, what we're writing about is, it's authentic, and so I do think of. I mean, it was around about Wolf's Law as well. Songs like Tendons, and some of the Welsh tracks as well. In a way, it's just sort of like a coming together and even stronger. But yeah, it's quite a particular thing, and when that respect is there, we've known each other a long time anyway, so like I say, that won't change. I'm always excited with whatever project we're working on,
Mm-hmm. It probably, in some ways, like the fact that we had a relationship together for a little while, it probably, in some ways, fast-tracked some of the familiarity, didn't it? In terms of, like, the bonding, I suppose, in that sense. And the biggest testament is, like, being able to, like, agree that isn't working. That's not, like, the best version of the love that we have for each other. It's not in that type of a relationship, but it's carried over into a much more beautiful, like you said, friendship and also writing partnership. And so yeah, all the chapters, it's funny how they all end up adding up, the thing that it feels shocking at the time, or it feels like this could be this huge change, and it ends up only actually leading to something even more beautiful. So yeah.
And you got to have trust and feel like a family in a band, that's for sure.
Yeah.
A reviewer said of the album that Ritzy, was a woman grieving a cherished relationship while the very ex she's singing about coos supportively in the background. And I thought that was beautiful.
Aww.
Unfortunately for listeners of the podcast, I'm about to use a visual cue here. So I will have to describe this. I'm going to hold up the deluxe edition of Earth.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
That's right.
Definitely
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
All right. This box set comes with so many bells and whistles. I mean, we're talking colored vinyl, 7 inches, autographed postcards, the whole shooting match. And Ritzy, I want you to help me clarify something, because this was not the first time the Joy Formidable had done sort of a deluxe packaging thing. I seem to recall you, and I don't know if it was on Patreon or where this occurred, but I remember you having a smashed guitar, and you were taking bits and pieces of the wood from the smashed guitar and including those bits of memorabilia in a deluxe packaging for a previous release. Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, totally. That would have been the box set for the Big Raw, wouldn't it, Riddy? Here's the one. I don't know if I've got a copy here. Oh, have a look for it later. Yeah, we did a box set for that. And you're right, I had accidentally, of course, smashed one of my Fenders. And then I had to I decided it'd be quite nice to kind of divvy it up, like you said, between all the first however many box sets. I think it was the first 50 or whatever, but the boys wouldn't let me buy a circular saw because they were scared that I was going to lose these. Just
yeah. And you're accident prone.
I am accident prone, so I think I ended up just having to use a fucking hammer and chisel and just kind of hack at it. So
we found a piece of that recently, actually, didn't we?
Yeah, we found the last big chunk of it that I'd obviously gone, fuck that, I'm not doing this anymore. I've got blisters. I've nearly fucking smashed my thumbs to pieces. So yeah. So we just give that away, didn't we? The Christmas,
the music club, yeah.
It's between that and this box set and the music club. It seems like you two identified very early in your career the type of relationship you wanted to have with fans. And I think it's unique. Not all bands enjoy that level of engagement and that level of intimacy. Mm-hmm. Was that a conscious effort on your part?
I think it was, from my perspective. I mean, the music industry is like I said, I think it makes you really value when you come across good humans, right? So when you have it in your own band, you're you kind of hold them tight, it's you kind of have that feeling of we've got to kind of stick together, we need to look after each other, because there's lots and lots of forces that sometimes can be quite hard. So I think, to me, it was just an extension of the more good humans, and we are lucky, we've got some really lovely, kind, thoughtful fans, who are supportive, and it is, and they've been there right the way through, with every release that we've done. They stick with it as well, So I think for me, it was just more about enjoying surrounding yourself with decent people, and people that had heart, because there was a flip side to that sometimes that, was also quite glaring, you know. You kind of like felt like it was important to be, you know, make those good connections.
Yeah, and it's about being grateful. You know, that's where the real connection is, isn't it? You know, and having done lots of shows as well and talking to fans and sort of being really moved by their stories as well. You know, I've talked to people after gigs and stuff that said that it helped them, like they were talking of suicide and stuff. But then these are really powerful things, and it shows you how powerful music is. It is to us. So when that resonates with others, yes, that's something to be cherished. And I think, like you said, it's, you know, with your experiences of needing to be resilient and maybe, you know, overlooked and all these various things, you know, you cling on to the to those that have really supported you. Do you know what I mean? And helped you to get your records out there when maybe you know, the usual traditional forces like labels and so forth. Like you say, some of them, not all of them, but some of them can be pretty nasty, you know. So yeah, the fans, I think, it's very important to treat them well, and yeah, just being grateful just seems like a natural thing. For us.
And it's always been quite a safe space, and I don't know why that is. You know, we've had, like I said, like a close relationship with like our fan base, and I feel like there's maybe, you know, the amount of times that it's kind of crossed the line that feels a little bit, I don't know, not particularly nice or a bit scary, or I mean, there's been barely anything, is it, like that? So I guess it's what you end up attracting, you know, if you can open yourself up with kindness and love, and what we've had received back is mostly more of the same, you know. It's like not being scared, you know. I've not had too many nutters, so is what I'm trying to say.
There's a theme here. We've got a big roar, we've got Wolf's Law, and now Arth, which is Welsh for bear. Which one of you is the secret veterinarian? Which one of you is the animal lover?
That'll probably be Ritzy. I mean, I do as well, but Ritzy takes it to another level.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I think I'm obsessed with animals. Like, I don't know, might be a bit of female autism crossing into things, but I do love, yeah, anything furry, anything with feathers, anything with scales, anything with more than, well, anything with legs. Yeah, no, I'm good. Good for it. Good for it all.
With Arth, and I will also confess that your native tongue is so intimidating when I see it in its written form. Welsh is a lot. So if I mispronounce something, my sincerest apologies. The opening track on that album was I Blwy'n Eira. Did I do that right?
A Blwy'n Eira.
A Blwy'n Eira.
Take the
I'm going to quote another reviewer from Pitchfork who said that it is less a song than a statement of purpose, a funhouse mirror portal into an album that isn't as eager to make friends as its predecessors.
That's almost nice from Pitchfork.
2018, you've got 3 full lengths under your belt. It seemed like a statement album.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, what like Ritzy was saying before, I think with each album we like to do, challenge ourselves and sort of write maybe in a different way, bring something new and fresh as a writer, So for that one, the approach was, I suppose it feels very playful to us, and I think the artwork kind of shows that as well, with it being so, a bit psychedelic and colourful. It's it's just toying around with construction and writing and in a patchwork, like you say, type of sense. I feel like Pitch was it was very live, going over and over, and so perfecting it in a quite a traditional sort of approach, all very much live in the studio. Not that many overdubs, but yeah, wanted to capture that, and I feel like there's a bit of a reaction to that. Happy for it to be a studio thing with lots of overdubs and lots of little sections. It's not like all layers all the way through. It's bits coming in, bits coming out. So yeah, feels very playful, I think.
I think one of the reasons it was quite playful, because coming out the back of Hitch, nothing to do musically with that record, but we just had such a shit experience. I think it had probably put more strain on us as a band than anything else. Rids and I breaking up or any of that sort of stuff. It was just something so nothing. Not that there is a version of going right anyway, but just everything that we tried to do and the way that we wanted to do it, the opposite happened. It was just that fucking constantly, and we didn't feel like we had much support just across the board, did we? It was I think it was probably in some ways we just felt really isolated. That's how I kind of remember it. It just felt like it was just us left, I suppose. And so to come out of that, come out the back of Hitch kind of feeling that way, kind of feeling like it could have been quite easy to just go, oh, you know what, fuck this. Let's go and fucking be a zoologist or something. Do you know what I mean? It was I think there was just a real sense of just joy that we had actually managed to stick through that and go back into the studio, because it was a bit of a question about whether or not we were going to go back into the studio. We were kind of tired out. And then we went back into the studio, and it was actually, we can have a lot of fun in here. Fuck everything else. This is what we do. This is where where it's meaningful. So yeah, it felt like that. It felt like coming back together and actually getting back into the roots of why we wanted to be, in a band and, make music anyway.
Yeah, and you can forget about all that stuff because there was various things with labels and money and having to kind of have a bit of fight with that kind of stuff. And yeah, the music is the sanctuary, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rhydian, I would be remiss if I did not bring up in the previous bands in Tricky Nixon and Side Carcasses, you were playing a 6-string guitar. It seems like you started off as a traditional guitar player and migrated to the bass guitar out of necessity.
That's it. Yeah, initially, yeah. And kind of enjoyed, I do play sort of various things because ultimately I love, writing and composing. But I've enjoyed kind of approaching the bass a little bit like a guitarist, and try to capture melodic moments as well as chords on bass, and so yeah, I've really enjoyed it, to be honest.
The bass line on "Caught on a Breeze."
Oh yeah,
my guy. Wow. That's a riff.
Yeah, magical, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy playing that live. Definitely need to warm up before that.
Wasn't there like a gig where you hadn't we been stood in the cold or something, and we were going to start a set with that, and you were like, fucking can't even move my fingers. Like, how are we going to start this? It's like,
That's it, yeah.
stick them down your pants.
Don't need much of an excuse to do that.
Arth completes its cycle. The next album is Into the Blue. Keith, I want you to count to 6 for me. Out loud.
Out loud. Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ritzy, as impressive as the bass line in Caught on a Breeze, I feel like the guitar lick and the counting of 6 and I Gotta Feed My Dog is otherworldly. It's so cool. Take me into that riff and tell me about. And speaking of Ritzy as a woods witch, the soft spoken vocal in "Gotta Feed My Dog" is one of the witchiest, coolest things I've ever. And I say this with so much love, like one of the coolest things I've ever heard. So tell me about that riff, and also if I'm hearing it right, there's a callback to that counting of 6 where you've actually sped it up and made it like an extra chimey part of the song. Am I hearing that right?
Wow. I've got to give credit to Rhydian. Rhydian was the foundation of that song musically. Do you remember the original demo? I think was all you. It's just, I think talking about dogs was probably about me, and I'll take credit for I'll take credit for whispering over the fucking thing as well. But I think it was quite. I remember you showing it me, and it was quite created musically. So I can't, fucking. I think that's one of yours, really.
Well, and so the question you mentioned about that last question at 6, and then going into what? What was that question again?
Well, there's the
yeah.
I think that riff I think you lifted it, time stretched it, sped it up, and there's like a little chime where you hear almost like a ghost of it in the background of the song, almost like a sound effect.
Oh, right. Well, I'll need to revisit the track. I don't remember that. Yeah.
Can't remember. Yeah. That's where I've been going wrong all these years. I fucking don't count it in 6. I can go up to 4.
Yeah. So we enjoyed playing that live, actually.
Yeah.
It's
definitely.
a banger.
Yeah.
I'm curious about two cultural moments outside of the band that use the band. I'm curious to know if being a part of the Twilight movie soundtrack made any difference in your career. And I'm also curious to know, the Lonely Island, as silly as a project as that is, they get some very, very famous people to collaborate on the Lonely Island. And so you can now draw in the degrees of Kevin Bacon game. You can say that the Joy Formidable has a direct connection to the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef, because YOLO, the song from the Lonely Island, sampled Whirring as sort of its base of the track, and Kendrick Lamar's on that track. So did Twilight Saga or the Lonely Island influence you guys, or have a big influence on the band?
I've forgotten about both of those. Yeah, I only write songs about vampires now.
Appropriate for a woods witch.
Yeah, that's it. I suppose just it's listen, like there's all kinds of ways of people hearing your music, isn't there? And so grateful for that, and reaching kind of different audiences and stuff. But I wouldn't say there's a particular influence. Not on me. What about you?
Well, I still haven't seen the Twilight movie, so I don't even know where it is in that. And I quite like, what they did with YOLO, and that was kind of cool. Like Ritzy said, it's kind of just
some of the stuff. Yeah,
just like interesting to sort of hear, see where people feel like your track ends up getting placed. Like, like there was one last year on there, that computer game, like somebody shared me a little clip of that with like a fucking ninja cat, and it was whirring for that as well. I was like, it's kind of cool. Like, I wish I could actually game, like it's a cool placement of music, like if I didn't know it was our band, I'd be like, oh, let's fucking add something to the experience, like
it was quite tastefully done, that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like it seemed like there was a fan of the band and used it in very particular places. I don't know if you guys know which game we're talking about.
I do not.
No. Hi-Fi Rush or something like that.
Yeah.
And Whirring is used in this climactic scene in it, and it just seems to really work. You know what I mean? They're like they've taken the time to really try and work it out. But yeah, actually, the Lonely Island, some of their stuff is funny, fair play. So, and I think they've done a good job of quite a lot of their tracks. So it was to be featured.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool thing because somebody can go and use your track. I mean, we're quite strict as well, like I don't want fucking somebody using, I don't know, Little Blimp to sell nuggets or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like there are clauses in place. Like, do you know what I mean? Like fucking like Austere to sell Roundup and that. Like, fuck you ain't using that song. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, damn. Just when I set it up, yeah.
But when it's another artist using it, or a movie or something visual, then like I said, it's like you just kind of like almost feel like it's like there's enough of that separation to kind of say, oh, that's they felt like it would complement that thing. So like I said, as long as it's something that doesn't cross the line on some kind of moral compass, or right, that's the most important thing for me.
I want to end with Share My Heat, but to get there, we have to take the band through what for every musician was a very difficult period, the lockdown. And again, I want to emphasize that your relationship with your fans was so unique during that time. You were very, very active with the backstage area of the music club. And candidly, I feel like a lot of other artists looked at what you guys were doing with the music club and emulated it. and I'm going to hold up another visual artifact, which maybe you recognize that handwriting.
Yeah.
For the people listening to the show, I'm a part of the music club, and during the pandemic, Ritzy was very compassionate to their fans and said, "Hey, share your stories. Tell us what you're struggling with." And in response to some of those emails, sent out handwritten lyric sheets from Joy Formidable songs. And this is one that you sent me, the lyrics to "You Taught Me." And it is a treasured artifact in my home and meant a lot to me at the time and still does. Tell me about your relationship to the music club, and tell people who maybe are listening to the podcast that don't know what the music club is.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that sort of aspect of the Joy Formidable.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose it started prior to COVID, which is cool. You know, it started kind of in late 2018, something like that. I think we were kind of feeling that, bands were having to be, having to split between lots and lots of platforms. They like the having your own website and bringing people to you, it kind of disappeared, and it was more about using giant tech to to represent you. And I think in 2018 we kind of felt like that wasn't the route that we were already feeling kind of fucked off with the vibe of that. So we decided that we wanted to kind of bring it bring a centralized place, and that's when we started to kind of create the website and the backstage area and the club. And it was also, I suppose, a vehicle for, we just realized that we were writing faster than like the pulse of album making. We were kind of constantly writing, and we had a lot of material very often, and some of it didn't always feel like it belonged on a full length. So kind of all made sense. It was like, oh, cool. Like, we'll really kind of build our own little world on our website. And at the same time, that can be like a really safe place to share this constant stream of music that already feels like sometimes it's been quite devalued, between the way that kind of the world is going. So we'll try and do things a little bit different. And then the pandemic came, and it just kind of highlighted even more how, to have a community and have a place where people could meet, and where we could carry on doing shows, even though every single fucking venue had shut down, and just became this really important space. It took on a new meaning to what it had prior to that. And it grew. And we tried to make it a bit better, tried to make it a little bit more of a better experience, I suppose, with how we grew it. And now we can't let it go, because it's probably my favorite part of being in a band in some ways. It's, like the community that we have there. Yeah.
So the people who don't know, it's like, it's where all kinds, I suppose, of creative outputs are there. So there's shows, online shows. There's all kinds of songs. There's a few podcasts that we need to kind of revisit, because we're always coming up with ideas, and so that's had a gap for a minute, but it's just stacking up with all this material, and it's a beautiful place to really connect. It feels like directly, with fans, like Ritzy said. Hopefully, it's a model that lots of artists can embrace themselves, and we do want to expand with the club, actually, and so we're going to delve into that this year, because when you're getting spread all across these things, and even if you've got millions and millions and millions of streams on things like Spotify, and you've been making not very much, I think you've got to bring it back. sort of empower the artist a bit more, and people getting used to that as well. And not everybody's able to do it from their own site. It can sometimes be quite a big job tech wise. So we were lucky to have some friends help out in that regard as well, and hopefully we can do that for some other artists as well. But yeah, it's been beautiful. I'm the same. Long may it continue. We're always writing, so there's like a few songs pretty much every month, and yeah.
Like artists are being made to like jump through fucking hoops, aren't they? Like we're not, sometimes we're not even playing our version of a game, we're like trying to share music on a fucking platform that has like its own rules in terms of its algorithms and like, in terms of, so you can have the fucking numbers on there, you can have a fan base that's interested, but the way that it's set up, if you're not actually kind of presenting it, it doesn't even throw it out anymore to your entire fucking fan base. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you haven't played their rules at the beginning, like, oh, I haven't said something fucking gimmicky and shite at the beginning to make people wonder, right, if I'm gonna get my arse cheek out on this, video. It's like I don't want to play anybody else's rules. I don't want to do it with labels, and I definitely don't want to do it with major tech. So to us, it was like, why can't it just be about the music as well? That's why it's a fucking music club. It's like just about coming together and sharing music and sharing shows, and that's the spotlight. It's not like the kind of sad games of self-promotion and trying to figure out what the new rule book is every fucking 6 months because some tossers in Silicon Valley have decided that they want to, I don't know, have a spotlight on this, that, and the other. Anyway, rant over. Sorry.
Yeah, well, you can probably sense that there's some things about the industry that like gets on our nerves. But to be honest, I think it's happening to so many sectors, isn't it? Like, people are being squashed to having their kind of assets taken away from them type of thing, We were lucky doing music just to be able to, in the pandemic, still connect online and do shows. Obviously some people weren't able to do that, like depended on your job, didn't it? So we're grateful for that. But I do think it's, we like to go on and on about it because I think musicians do need to bring the power back to like protect what they're great in, in that sense it has been devalued and it's difficult to like make a living. How many artists and bands are like dropping off as well as the venues, so we need to do something about it. So hopefully there's more and more people taking on that model. It seems so. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Well, and what's neato torpedo about it is you end up with, as you say, if you're, so it's a monthly subscription, you pay a very small amount of money, really. It's the cost of going out to McDonald's every month, and you get new songs. And what's cool is, again, I'm holding up something that the listeners can't see. This is the 2018 to 2020 Music Club vinyl. And so you've got, over the course of, 2 years, you end up with sort of a greatest hits. These are the songs that we felt the most proud of. You've got enough material to have a full album, and this isn't streaming anywhere. You can only get this through the Music Club. And I find that fantastic. I think it's very cool to reach for something if I want to put music on the turntable and reach for something that I can't have on Spotify or in the car. It's a unique listening experience to my living room. And I love that. I think that's just fantastic.
No.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, it's an important community for us,
And then one last piece of vinyl. Boy, this is a visual episode. I'm so sorry. We talked about Arth starting off with a song in the Welsh tongue. You went so far as to re-release A Balloon Called Moaning. And it's actually 2 pieces of vinyl. The first is the original release. And then you re-recorded the entire album, all of it, in your native Welsh tongue. And the songs take on brand new. They get brand new life. They take on new meaning and context. You've reinterpreted them. It's really a worthwhile listen. And the all Welsh version of A Balloon Called Moaning is also not something you're going to find streaming on Spotify or on Apple Music. You need to be a part of the music club. I think you can buy that one on Bandcamp. But it's really, it makes being a fan of the band worth that extra level of engagement. It makes the return on investment for my ears is there every time. Y'all have had The Naked and Famous, William Orbit, Passion Pit. There have been a number of artists outside of the band that have done remixes for you. So to hear the Joy Formidable with some electronic elements, synthesizers, some programming, that's not new. What is new is that it seems like with Share My Heat, it's the first time it's coming from you guys. I'm hearing programming, I'm hearing synths. And by the way, this song is 15 minutes long, and I saw that you had performed it live, which, okay. This is a total banger, and it seems like a little bit of a new leaf turned over in terms of some new creative tools in your arsenal of establishing the new Joy Formidable sound. Tell me about Share My Heat.
It was a fun one, isn't it? That's for sure.
Come bring your cold hands and feet, come close to me. Come bring your cold hands and feet and share my heat. Come bring your cold hands and feet, come close to me. Come bring your cold hands and feet and share my heat. Come bring your cold hands and feet, come close to me. Come bring your cold hands and feet and share my heat. Share my heat. Share my heat. Share my heat.
Yeah, where did that?
I think it was.
It stumped us. We're both trying to go back to 2020. What the fuck happened?
There's a bit of a development on a riff, wasn't it? Like in a kind of a bit like Whirring, but some differences as well. We wanted it almost like, we enjoyed the journey, and long songs where it feels right and it takes you, somewhere, and so towards, I think there was like this feeling of like these waves crashing, and the same kind of motif comes back, but it's in a different guise. It might be a bit sort of electronic, and it comes back again, and it's kind of like a jam out. And then there's like this bass solo, and we enjoyed the kind of the build, which some songs like Whirring, but not just Whirring, people that I suppose seen us live will get that sense. We enjoy that live as well. Building and dynamics, bringing it down and toying with the tension and so forth. So yeah, it's like a natural, really, and the arsenal that, like you say, the tools we've enjoyed, extending on that, and it not just being sort of a guitar band, like we do. We're constantly writing, and there is some sort of electronic stuff in there, and so it made sense to include that. Sort of what we're listening to at the time influences,
I think it might have been a bit of a reaction to, maybe I'm making this up or I dreamt it, but like I remember thinking, or somebody mentioned, or something came up in a conversation about like have you written any songs that you can dance to? And, you know, you kind of go, huh, yeah, can you, like, I mean, depends what that even fucking means, right, in some ways. But, you know, certainly to me, who isn't like, I haven't got like not like the most natural dancer, like I like kind of jumping around and stuff like that. But they didn't seem like a dead obvious contender. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah, of course we wrote fucking. can't even think of a song that you can dance to. you know what I mean? Like, I think there was like a little bit of that running through it, if I seem to remember. Like that.
You probably want to challenge yourself as a writer in that sense, though.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, and I love dance music, you know, like when I first started thinking about if I was going to do a solo project, what sort of thing I wanted to do. I was just, the problem is the skill set isn't there in the same way in terms of synths and the way that you loop drum things and stuff like that. But I just wanted to be like a new version of the Prodigy. Do you know what I mean? Like that was the very first, like, what sort of thing do you want to be? You know, I was like, want something that's just banging, do you know what I mean? Like something that you can set up late at night in a field in the middle of North Wales and get the police turning up. So I don't know if like Share My Heat was just like a little reaction to something about dancing.
I love that. As someone whose wife has a "our feet shall never touch" under no circumstances. The lyric, "come bring your cold hands and feet and share my heat." I thought, oh, not in this house.
Oh, that's it. Isn't that the point of being in a relationship, that you just like use the other person as a hot water bottle? Like, what are the other advantages? Apart from they might make you a sandwich every so often, like, you know what I mean? Like, surely they're just a big human hot water bottle.
That's very funny. You know, we don't want to use too much of your time. We're very, very appreciative of you sharing some stories with us. I want to end on, I'm very grateful that the two of you are on our show in this moment, because as an intense fan of your band, the announcement that Matt was going to be leaving the group, I think gave a lot of fans cause for alarm. Oh my goodness, does this mean that it's over? And I feel like you have you've been very upfront about your intent to continue the Joy Formidable, to keep making music. Tell us about Matt leaving the group and what that's going to mean for the two of you moving forward.
Yeah, it's there was a bit of a grieving process to that, because we've been through so much together. You know, I guess, what was it, 13 years, maybe a little bit more. But you know, we want him to be happy, and that's just the chapter that he's in his life. You know, so we understand, and there's various reasons for that. So wish him all the best. You know, but yeah, we're still excited about writing. We're working on solo records at the moment, helping each other out with that, you know, so there's that aspect as well, you know, and it's a different project, but we're super excited already, you know. We haven't released the solo stuff, but we know already that we're going to be working on another TJF record, and yeah. So we'll give this kind of solo thing the airtime it deserves first, but yeah. I want to always do Joy Formidable records. Nothing's going to stop that. So, and we've been busy constantly with the music club as well, you know, constantly releasing on there. So it just, nothing's changed really.
Yeah. Just, I think there needs to be, like Rid said, we've had such a long time together, you know, with him playing drums for us. Just wanted to kind of process it all, you know, kind of like not rush into anything, just finish the, like Ritzy is saying, like the solo records that we've been working on, because we'd already started them, you know, that was already kind of happening. And I'm probably only now starting to open up to the thought of, you know, like putting the feelers out there, you know, like what does it look like? Is it a third member? Is it somebody who's just more kind of, comes in and out? Or, what is it going to end up being? So, but the first stage is feeling excited and open to that. And, like, I'm only just there, I think, is what I'm trying to say. So be exciting to see what actually happens next, and who we end up crossing paths with. I think there's a place for something really, a different chapter. Something, it's always going to end up being different from Mr. Thomas. Do you know what I mean? Like, but its own it can still be something equally as beautiful in its own thing. And I'm kind of excited to see what that's going to end up being. And I'm very trusting of the universe in that sense. I think once you kind of feel ready and you kind of open yourself up out, and you have that intention, as long as you kind of go into it not too with urgency or too kind of like anxious about it. I think those are the moments when like sometimes the most amazing things wander into your life. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll find an octopus. Actually, somebody with fucking 8 tentacles.
A highly caffeinated octopus.
Yeah, that's it.
Rhydian, your solo record is developed to the point that you've actually got album cover artwork, and how close are we?
I've mastered the English one. I'm working on a Welsh EP as well. Whether or not that will be a full album, we'll see. But yeah, that's done. But in terms of a release date, I don't know yet. Kind of going through all that nitty gritty pretty damn soon. I think the last quarter of the year, maybe something like that. But I'm working on some artwork to. That's been a sort of a niche for quite some time to go along with it. So whether or not maybe do some interesting little shows, maybe like some exhibition to go with that. But yeah, and Ritzy, you're getting close now as well, aren't you? I've been, helping mix the record with Ritzy, so yeah, it's exciting sounding.
Yeah, well, same. Like it's been. I think it's just been lovely for us to both explore our own, our own passions. So, like the album that I've made, it kind of wouldn't. It's its own thing. It wouldn't work for Joy Formidable. Do you know what I mean? So, and I'm sure you feel the same as well, Rid. So to give yourself to honor that creative pull that you've obviously had, like mine's quite a conceptual thing. So like, I think that's why it kind of feels like it's almost like its own standalone thing. But yeah, I've probably had the happiest
to go with it.
Yeah, I know that was unexpected. So it's turned into an album and something else. But yeah, I just think we kind of needed to do that, both of us, didn't we? In our own way. Like I think there was things that we wanted to write and things that we wanted to say that maybe belonged somewhere else. And I've had the happiest creative year in a way, and that's probably just about a little bit about my own demons that I had with the whole concept of making a record by myself. It was an extremely frightening thing on some level. Like at the start, it's like, well, where's my support system gone? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's what you mean. It's just fucking me now having to make these decisions. Like, and I didn't think I could do it, which says more about me, really. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had a lot of fears. So, like, how beautiful is that to come to the other side and say, bloody hell, you were so hard on yourself. So to me, it's all been a huge growing experience the whole year. So, like, the happiest bit is done. Like like to have thrown yourself into that project and to try to to do something different. Like, that's just feel very proud of us both that we've just gone and done something a bit different for a moment. So, yeah.
Well, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing both. And I hope that you do find a highly caffeinated octopus to play drums for TJF, and that you keep doing that, because I've not had a chance to hear Share My Heat live, and I need to. So that's on the bucket list. Do you think, one final question, there was a performance in 2023 where you had the Wolf Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that maybe, because of all the things that I've researched, and I've gone down plenty of rabbit holes trying to find specific songs, I don't know that that's streaming anywhere, and I don't know that the CD ever came out. Was the Wolf Orchestra actually released, and is that something that you will do again?
It was
it's on
there was
the
a
site.
limited run of CDs, right?
Yeah, it's digital. It's digital on our website, so
Okay.
you can get a digital copy there now. It's not on the streamers, but it's on our website as a thing that you can buy and download. I'd love to bring it over to some, other countries. It was just a London show. We just did it as a one-off at the end of that last UK tour. So, and it was beautiful. It was everything that I hoped it was going to be that night. It was like just it's kind of bittersweet now, because it was probably like the penultimate show that we ever did with Matt in some ways. And it's even after you've been playing for like 10 years, like you still hope that you're going to get up there and that the show is going to be the type of show that you're happy to record, because even after a 10-year career, you can still like play a show and be like, fucking hell, that was a bit messier than we wanted it to be, or shit went wrong, or the mix was hard, or the audience weren't into it, whatever it ends up being. It was like all the things aligned. It's probably like my favorite live recording of us that we've ever done. It was just, it was a great night. So to do it again, for sure. Like, probably be easier to do the second time round, right?
Do you think so? Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. Yeah.
I'm hearing lots to be optimistic about for Joy Formidable fans. So Ritzy, Rhydian, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate you coming on and spending some time chatting with us. Continued success, and we'll see you the next time you tour the States.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for the invite. Enjoyed the chat.
Yeah, and hope to see you soon. Hopefully that's not too far away in the future.
Hope so.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Lovely to meet you both and chat.
You too.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
All right, guys. Take care now. Deal.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Ta-ra. Bye-bye.
Many thanks to Rhydian and Ritzy for their time.
This episode of Centre Stage was written and produced by Keith R. Higgins and Jeff Calhoun. The show was recorded at Thunderlove Studio, where it was engineered by
Daphne Morris,
with help from
Penetration,
edited by
Victor Ball,
with help from
Clem Fandango.
Our theme song is Cynical by Jaguar on Mars. You can stream Jaguar on Mars wherever you stream your favorite music.
Grab your pencils. These are the songs you heard during this podcast. You heard Into the Blue, 9669, Whirring, The Leopard and the Lung, Why Blue and Error, Caught on a Breeze, I Gotta Feed My Dog. And lastly, you heard Share My Heat. You can stream the Joy Formidable wherever you stream your favourite music. Be sure to check out their Bandcamp page and their website for unique offerings. We have links in the show notes section. Please remember to support independent music.
original music by Mike Pellegrino.
If you like what you've heard, please remember to subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps other people find the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Grazie.
Bailey Leaf,
Rob Janicki, Mike Pellegrino, Farina Vella,
S.W. Loudon,
Michael Janicki, Peyton Janicki.
This show's executive producer is Lulu McGillicuddy and is in the loving memory of
Lucas Thunderlove.
And now, until we meet again next time, I remain as always, obediently yours.
Abandoned Albums is a production of Paw Print Media.